They executed perfectly. They had a fast car. They held off Truex when no one else could. There's a lot to say about that. And they executed. I mean, they just flat out executed. And even though they didn't have a very good final pit stop, I mean, you saw the 45 leapfrog them, but the 45 came back in because he had a tire falling off again. But like even with the 45, he had a slow pit stop. Remember, they kind of stopped on the right side and like, okay, do we fix this or not? And then he still comes out ahead of the 17. It's like, oh man, that's even more of a crushing blow to the 45. It's like, you had time to fix it, and sheesh. That's a head scratcher for sure for those guys. They did it again. It's basically the Nashville was the same thing where the 45 was kind of a dominant car, or one that was a top 2 car, and he was just pressuring Buescher there for the lead when they pitted and had another right rear tire fall off. So they got to fix that. Certainly there's some fixing to do there, short and long term, but
also with RFK, I saw you after the race, you finished 3rd, Brad finished 4th, and you just had mentioned to Brad, hey, good job. From an owner's perspective, I'm curious what it means, or what you think it means to Brad that, his team probably is the best Ford team right now to come in and revitalize that whole RFK organization, and now to top Penske and top SHR. I just feel like that's a big deal.
It is, and it's one of those things where I understand the feeling. When he gets out of that car, I know exactly what he's feeling. Now, the only difference is he's driving for the team that he's a part owner of, where I, on Sunday, directly compete against the team that me and Michael own. So I think that I understand the conflicting probably feelings he has in the inside of, damn, the car I just am driving won. He's won 2 weeks in a row. I've been right there with him. What do we need to do to execute better or get better track position or whatever it might be to win? Because I know Brad's still got the fire in him to want to win. But then, 20 minutes later, he's probably very, very excited for his race team. So I think that, I certainly respect, the work that team is put in to get better. I heard NBC talking during, I believe it was practice, saying, that the next step in how you get better is more manufacturer support. And I believe that as well, is that then you can use that to, make, financial decisions on resources of how you need to take the next step. So I certainly think that they're doing a fantastic job, and it's we know that they hired David Smith early on. It was actually one of the first things that I remember. One of the first hires that they had when Brad came over there. He was a big stats and analytics guy. Surely that's paying some fruit now for them. So it's a process. I mean, when I talked about, building 2311, I said it was going to take a 5-year plan to make us a championship contending organization. We're in year 3 now. I still believe that that's a trajectory. Obviously, we know where we've got to get better. We've got fast enough cars, but we know where we have to get better. But it's a process. You can't just, pick crew guys right off the couch, because if they were good, then they'd have a job somewhere, right? And the process then of fixing if someone's got a health issue and it just isn't 100% as a pit crew guy, or they need to hone their skills and get more reps, like that is a process. Like it's just weighing like, well, what is this person's ceiling versus what are their where are they at now? Like, when you're building a pit crew department, and this is the first year that 2311's had their own pit crews, we understand it's a process, and we're going to, we started very early this morning because at 9 a.m., we've got a long discussion on what our long-term pit crew planning is, right? Do we expand? Do we get more personnel? Do we hire more than to then have 3 pit crews, and then we'll outsource one to another team to let us continue to build our roster and hone our stuff? We figured at Gibbs that we would probably get the 5th and 6th best team. That just made sense for Gibbs, but it didn't make sense for us because we feel like we have race-winning cars. But it is a process. It takes time. Tyler Reddick has absolutely 100% the right to be as angry and frustrated as he is. We have let him down more times than we have brought him up, and we've got to do a better job of that. Yeah, it's frustrating. Trust me, from my standpoint, I saw him, and I'm driving the car, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to come out here 4th, and he says, all right, when this cycles, you're going to be 3rd, and I look, and I can see the 17, I see the 19, where's the 45? It's just, man, hate it for Billy and that whole team and Tyler. They deserve better than what they're getting right now, but I can assure you the guys are probably at the shop working on it, trying to figure out how they can get better.
Can you give a deeper explanation of what that pit crew department looks like now, and then what potentially it could look like in the future based on what you just said there?
Yeah, so our alliance with JGR, we use their facilities basically, but we've hired our own coach. We've got really 10 guys. We don't have any reserves. What we did is, we part of our alliance, we have access to reserves on JGR's rosters. So,
where did those 10 guys come from? They were already in the sport, I'm assuming.
Yeah, some of them were already on 2311's cars, but they were JGR employees. I would say most of them came from other teams. Just other pit crew members' contracts are up, and they come talk to Shippy and say, hey, I'm interested in coming over to 2311. So,
so then are you?
And then we take and we have all the information to try these guys out, or look at their history and say, is this somebody we want to hire or not? And so, again, it's a huge expense for 2311 to then hire another pit crew that is not for one of our cars, but it's like, is the investment worth it? It seems like it needs to be at this point.
Is there a major learning curve for new pit crew members coming into the sport? Like, say you found some kid out of Arizona State who's just a hell of a football player, right? And they didn't get drafted. Is there, what is the learning curve for a new athlete coming into NASCAR?
Man, this is probably a better question for the JGR coaches. I'm not really sure how long it takes them to take someone that is completely raw, never done a pit stop before, but is a hell of an athlete, to making it to Cup. My guess is it's got to be a year and a half, 2 years, I would say. But what they do is they'll get on, alliance team. So I think that I can't remember. I think it's the Legacy cars are JGR pit crews. Legacy or Front Row, one of the two are JGR pit crews. So they'll probably get in the game in a year or less, but then making it to one of the house cars, you're probably looking at a couple of years.
So the overall goal really is for 2311 is to expand your roster, expand your bench, have more resources.
Yep.
So
if you're good, come see us. We're looking right away.
Will the new shop have its own area for pickers to train?
That's not on our radar right at the moment. We have the space for it, of course, but the JGR facilities are working well for us. We have our allotted time that we work out of there. It works well for us. I think it's a good partnership we have with JGR. And, again, why would I just think about the resources, right? should I go spend $1 million or $2 on, pit crew facilities to practice at in-house, or, build the same thing that JGR has 2 miles down the road, or should I just take that money and resource it somewhere else? To me, as long as JGR continues us to have a alliance with JGR, it seems like it makes sense for our guys just to go 2 miles down the road and do it.